September 11, 200. 9/11, USA. The morning of September 11, 2001, marked a pivotal moment in world history that would forever change global security, international relations, and everyday life. 4 commercial airplanes were hijacked in a coordinated attack that targeted symbols of American economic and military power. 2 aircraft struck the World Trade Center towers in New York City, causing their eventual collapse and the loss of thousands of lives. A 3rd plane hit the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., while a 4th crashed in a Pennsylvania field after passengers heroically fought back against the hijackers. The impact extended far beyond the immediate loss of nearly 3,000 lives. The attacks transformed international security measures, particularly in aviation. New security protocols were implemented worldwide, intelligence sharing between nations increased dramatically, and the concept of counter-terrorism evolved significantly. The aftermath led to major shifts in global politics and military operations. The US launched what would become its longest war in Afghanistan, and international coalitions formed to combat terrorism. The attacks also sparked significant changes in domestic security policies, leading to the creation of the Department of Homeland Security. The event demonstrated unprecedented cooperation among first responders and civilians, with countless stories of heroism emerging from the tragedy. The recovery and rebuilding efforts at Ground Zero became a symbol of resilience and unity. 2004 Madrid train bombings, Spain. On March 11, 2004, Madrid's commuter train system became the target of one of Europe's deadliest terrorist attacks. The coordinated bombing of 4 trains during morning rush hour showed how vulnerable public transportation systems could be. The attackers used multiple explosive devices, timed to detonate almost simultaneously, maximizing the impact on commuters heading to work and school. The precision and planning of the attack revealed a new level of sophistication in terrorist operations within Europe. The political impact was immediate and far-reaching. The bombings occurred just 3 days before Spain's general election, significantly influencing its outcome and leading to changes in Spain's foreign policy, particularly regarding its involvement in Iraq. This attack prompted a complete overhaul of European counterterrorism strategies. It led to increased cooperation between European security services and the development of new protocols for protecting public transportation systems. The response of Madrid's emergency services became a model for crisis management, demonstrating how coordinated emergency response could save lives even in the most challenging circumstances.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
2005 London bombings 7/7, UK. The morning of July 7, 2005, saw London face its worst terrorist attack when 4 suicide bombers targeted 3 underground trains and a bus during rush hour. The attack demonstrated how difficult it is to secure an open public transportation system while maintaining its efficiency. The coordinated nature of the attacks, carried out by individuals who had lived in Britain, raised new concerns about homegrown terrorism. This forced a reassessment of domestic security policies and community integration strategies. A response of London's emergency services was remarkable, drawing on lessons learned from previous attacks worldwide. The city's resilience became evident as Londoners returned to public transport the very next day, refusing to let terror disrupt their daily lives. These events led to significant improvements in emergency response protocols and communication systems. The investigation that followed revealed important insights into radicalization processes within communities and the need for better community engagement. What made this attack particularly significant was its impact on multicultural relations in Britain, leading to increased efforts to prevent radicalization while maintaining community cohesion. 2008 Mumbai attacks. India. The Mumbai attacks of November 26-29, 2008 represented a new type of urban terrorism. 10 attackers targeted multiple locations across India's financial capital, including luxury hotels, a railway station, and a Jewish center, in a siege that lasted 3 days. The attackers used modern technology and sophisticated planning, combining firearms with explosives and using mobile phones and GPS for coordination. This marked a shift from traditional bomb-based attacks to a more military-style assault that required new response strategies. The siege of the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel became a symbol of both horror and heroism, with hotel staff risking their lives to protect guests. The events were broadcast live on television, creating a new dimension of terror through media coverage. This attack led to major reforms in India's security apparatus, including the creation of specialized counter-terrorism units and improved coastal security. It also highlighted the need for better international cooperation in preventing and responding to terrorist threats. The response to these attacks revolutionized how cities prepare for terrorist incidents, particularly in terms of securing soft targets like hotels and restaurants. 2015 Paris attacks. France. November 13, 2015 saw Paris experience an unprecedented series of coordinated terrorist attacks targeting multiple locations, including the Bataclan Concert Hall, restaurants, and the National Stadium. The attacks represented a new level of sophistication in terrorist operations in Europe. The attackers struck soft targets where people were enjoying everyday activities, creating maximum impact and fear. The simultaneous nature of the attack strained emergency services and demonstrated the challenges of responding to multiple concurrent incidents. The Bataclan Concert Hall siege became a particularly horrific symbol of the night's events. The response of French special forces, who eventually stormed the venue, showed how urban counter-terrorism tactics had evolved. The attacks led to significant changes in European security cooperation and border control. France declared a state of emergency and implemented new security measures, many of which became permanent features of French life. The international response demonstrated unprecedented solidarity while also highlighting the challenges of preventing such attacks in open societies. 2016 Nice truck attack, France. On Bastille Day 2016, Nice experienced a new form of terror when a truck attack was deliberately driven into crowds celebrating along the Promenade des Anglais. This attack highlighted how ordinary vehicles could be turned into weapons of mass casualty. The simplicity of the attack method made it particularly challenging to prevent, leading to worldwide changes in how public spaces are protected. Cities began installing barriers and bollards in pedestrian areas, fundamentally changing urban design approaches. The attack occurred despite France being under a state of emergency following previous attacks, demonstrating the difficulties in preventing low-tech terrorist methods. This led to new thinking about security at public events and the protection of open spaces. The response of local citizens and police during the attack showed how public awareness and rapid response had evolved. People helped each other escape and tended to the injured, while police quickly neutralized the threat. This attack influenced global counter-terrorism strategies, particularly regarding the protection of public gatherings and the prevention of vehicle-based attacks. 2002 Bali bombings returned to U.S. cities and found themselves graduated. The Bali bombings of October 12, 2002 marked Southeast Asia's deadliest terrorist attack, transforming how the region viewed terrorism. The attack targeted Kuta's nightclub district, specifically the Sari Club and Paddy's Pub, areas frequented by international tourists, revealing terrorists' strategy of targeting tourism to maximize economic and psychological impact. The attack employed a sophisticated three-phase approach. First, a suicide bomber entered Paddy's Pub. Second, later, a much larger vehicle-borne explosive device detonated outside the Sari Club. And finally, a smaller device was detonated near the U.S. consulate. This coordinated approach demonstrated a level of planning that shocked counter-terrorism experts. Local Balinese people, despite their limited resources, worked tirelessly alongside international emergency teams to help victims. The island's limited medical facilities were quickly overwhelmed, leading to an unprecedented international medical evacuation effort. The long-term impact on Bali's tourism industry was severe, demonstrating how terrorism can effectively target a region's economic lifeline. However, the recovery process showed remarkable resilience, with the Balinese people working to rebuild their tourism sector while implementing new security measures. This attack led to significant changes in Southeast Asian counter-terrorism cooperation. Indonesia, previously reluctant to acknowledge its terrorism problem, implemented strong anti-terrorism laws and established specialized counter-terrorism units. The investigation that followed became a model of international cooperation, involving agencies from multiple countries. Well, there's been additional talk about this. The memorial process was particularly poignant, bringing together people from various nations and faiths. The Ground Zero monument now stands as a symbol of peace and unity, featuring the names of victims from 22 countries, making it a powerful reminder of terrorism's indiscriminate nature. 1995, Oklahoma City bombing USA. The Oklahoma City bombing on April 19, 1995, shattered America's sense of domestic security and revealed the grave threat of homegrown terrorism. The attack on the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, carried out using a rental truck packed with explosives, remained the deadliest act of domestic terrorism in U.S. history until 9/11. Something must have gone wrong in Alfred's mind. He must have contacted the media. The attack was perpetrated by American citizens, motivated by anti-government extremism. Timothy McVeigh, a Gulf War veteran, and his accomplice, Terry Nichols, planned the attack as retaliation for the government's handling of the Waco siege and Ruby Ridge incidents, highlighting how domestic grievances can lead to catastrophic violence. The response to the bombing showcased the Oklahoma Standard, an extraordinary display of community spirit and resilience. Local residents, first responders, and volunteers from across the country worked tirelessly in rescue and recovery efforts. The image of firefighter Chris Fields holding infant Bailey Allman became an iconic symbol of both the tragedy and humanity's response to it. The investigation revolutionized forensic science and law enforcement techniques. Investigators pieced together crucial evidence from the truck axle found at the scene, demonstrating how even the most devastating explosions can leave vital clues. This investigation became a model for future cases and led to significant improvements in evidence collection and analysis. The bombing led to major changes in federal building security nationwide. New standards were implemented, including setback requirements, blast-resistant glass, and enhanced access controls. These changes fundamentally altered how government facilities are designed and protected. The attack changed how America viewed terrorism. It demonstrated that threats could come from within and led to increased attention to domestic extremism. The Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum now serves as both a tribute to the victims and a powerful educational tool about the consequences of extremism. 1988, Pan AM Flight 103, Lockerbie. Scotland. The destruction of Pan Am Flight 144813 over Lockerbie, Scotland on December 21, 1988 remains one of aviation's most infamous terrorist attacks. The bombing demonstrated the vulnerability of commercial aviation and led to fundamental changes in airline security worldwide. The attack's sophistication was chilling. A small explosive device hidden inside a radio cassette player was timed to detonate at altitude. The resulting explosion caused the aircraft to break apart at 3,1,0,0 feet, spreading debris over 845 square miles of Scottish countryside. The investigation became one of the largest and most complex in criminal history. The Lockerbie investigation set new standards for international cooperation in terrorism cases. Scottish police worked with agencies worldwide, meticulously piecing together evidence scattered across miles of countryside. Their investigation eventually traced the bomb's components to Libya, leading to international sanctions and diplomatic pressure that ultimately forced Libya to hand over suspects for trial. As for the bomb, examinations have narrowly focused on Middle Easterns and the protests. The impact on aviation security was profound. The attack exposed weaknesses in baggage handling and screening procedures, leading to the implementation of strict baggage reconciliation policies, ensuring that no unaccompanied bags fly, and international aviation security standards were significantly strengthened. This is the real backstory to 2020 and the major shift in the dramatic structural shifts that took place in the country. The human impact was equally significant. The loss of 270 lives, including many university students returning home for Christmas, created lasting bonds between Lockerbie residents and victims' families. The town's response to the tragedy, caring for bodies and collecting personal effects with dignity, demonstrated extraordinary compassion. The legacy of Lockerbie continues through various memorial initiatives and educational programs. Syracuse University, which lost 35 students in the attack, established scholarships in victims' names. The case also contributed significantly to international law, setting precedents for how terrorist acts are investigated and prosecuted across borders. 2004 BESLAN school siege, Russia. The BESLAN school siege stands as one of history's most horrific terrorist attacks, particularly because it targeted children and lasted 3 excruciating days. On September 1, 2004, armed militants seized School Number 1 in BESLAN, North Ossetia, during a back-to-school celebration, taking over 1,100 hostages, including 777 children. The attackers' tactics were deliberately cruel. They denied hostages water and food, planted explosive devices throughout the school, and used children as human shields. The psychological impact of targeting a school on the first day of classes, a day of celebration in Russian culture, made the attack particularly devastating for the entire nation. The siege ended in chaos and tragedy when explosions inside the school led to a fierce firefight between terrorists and security forces. The resulting casualties were catastrophic, with 334 people killed, including 186 children. The controversial handling of the crisis by Russian authorities led to significant criticism and called for reform in crisis response protocols. The aftermath revealed serious failings in Russia's counter-terrorism approach and emergency response capabilities. Questions about the use of heavy weapons by security forces during the rescue attempt and the lack of coordination between different agencies led to changes in how Russia handles hostage situations. The international impact was profound, leading to discussions about how to protect soft targets like schools. Many countries revised their school security protocols and developed new approaches to handling mass hostage situations. The attack also highlighted the complex relationship between terrorism and regional conflicts. As the attackers were linked to the Chechen separatist movement, the tragedy led to lasting changes in Russian society and politics. President Putin used the attack to justify centralizing more power, arguing that stronger federal control was needed to combat terrorism. The event remains a deep wound in Russian collective memory, with annual commemorations held to remember the victims. 2015 Ankara bombings. Turkey. The Ankara bombings of October 10, 2015 targeted a peace rally outside the city's main train station, becoming the deadliest terrorist attack in modern Turkish history. 2 suicide bombers struck a gathering of pro-peace activists, labor unions, and civic organizations, killing 109 people and injuring over 500 others. The timing and target of the attack were particularly significant, striking a peace rally that brought together various political and ethnic groups advocating for an end to violence between the Turkish state and Kurdish militants. This attack highlighted the complex interplay between domestic politics, ethnic tensions, and terrorism in the region. Unitedness is a part of the peaceful resolutions, to which I would expect unitedness, Martin writes. The immediate aftermath revealed shortcomings in emergency response systems, but also showed remarkable civilian solidarity. Ordinary citizens helped transport victims to hospitals in their private vehicles, while medical professionals rushed to hospitals without waiting to be called. This grassroots response became a powerful symbol of unity in the face of terror. The investigation that followed exposed the growing threat of ISIS within Turkey, as the attackers were linked to the terrorist organization. This led to increased security measures along Turkey's borders and greater international cooperation in tracking potential terrorists and their support networks. The political impact was significant, occurring just weeks before a crucial national election. The attack intensified debates about Turkey's involvement in Syria and its approach to domestic security. It also led to enhanced security measures at public gatherings and increased surveillance of suspected extremist groups. The commemoration of the attack remains a sensitive issue in Turkey, with annual gatherings at the site serving as both a memorial to the victims and a continued call for peace and unity. The event continues to influence discussions about political violence and the balance between security and freedom in Turkish society. 2019 SRI Lanka Eastern bombings. The Sri Lanka Easter bombings of April 21, 2019 represented one of the deadliest coordinated terrorist attacks in South Asian history. On Easter Sunday, suicide bombers targeted 3 churches and 3 luxury hotels, killing 269 people and injuring over 500. Deliberately striking during one of Christianity's holiest days. The attack's sophistication was alarming. Multiple teams of bombers struck almost simultaneously across different cities, demonstrating careful planning and coordination. The targeting of both religious sites and tourist hotels showed a deliberate strategy to maximize both symbolic impact and economic damage to Sri Lanka's crucial tourism industry. The aftermath revealed serious intelligence failures. Warnings about potential attacks had been received but not acted upon effectively. This led to major reforms in Sri Lanka's security and intelligence services, including better information sharing between agencies and improved response protocols. The bombings had a profound impact on Sri Lanka's inter-religious relations. Despite the potential for religious tension, many Muslim communities strongly condemned the attacks, and there were numerous instances of interfaith solidarity. However, the event also led to increased surveillance of religious groups and debate about religious extremism. The economic impact was severe, particularly on tourism, which had been thriving since the end of Sri Lanka's civil war. The country's recovery efforts focused not only on enhanced security measures, but also on rebuilding international confidence in Sri Lanka as a safe destination. The investigation and subsequent legal proceedings continue to influence counter-terrorism efforts in South Asia. The attack highlighted the need for better regional cooperation and more effective strategies to prevent the spread of extremist ideologies.